We are documentary filmmakers from NYU Journalism. We immersed ourselves in the lives, spaces, and thoughts of our subjects to bring new insights to our city and our world. This is a series about what we saw. This is Inside Lens.
My dad used to always tell me this old story about how development workers would travel to the remotest regions of the developing world and find Coca-Cola available there, even where clean water wasn't. So with that in mind, I started looking at Coca-Cola's supply chain and Coca-Cola's presence in Africa in particular. And I found that there was a small NGO that was looking to use the supply chain to move public health products. So I think what I learned is that while it's a really big challenge for the Ministry of Health and for aid organizations to move product, if they just think outside the box and take some lessons from the private sector and how the commercial supply chain moves, it's actually not that difficult. What needs to be done is shopkeepers need to be incentivized to move that product. And what Cola Life demonstrated is that it works. If people can make a profit at the very end of the supply chain, then they will draw that product in. So I'd never been to Africa before. Every environment I would go into required a certain amount of negotiating with people, why I'm there, what the purpose of my project was. And I think it was when I was filming in the market in Lusaka where a gentleman, a group of guys said to me, "Oh, white girls filming us poor Africans," and kind of mocked me. And I kind of stopped for a second and realized, oh, I mean, that's the bad taste in the mouths of people who feel like they've been exploited. And I don't want to be associated with that. So my first instinct was to run away, but instead I went over and talked to them and got over my fear of being this outsider. As a personal experience, that was a huge takeaway for me. And I've been able to use that lesson ever since. I'm Claire Ward, and this is my documentary, The Cola Road.
Today, more than half the world's population live in urban areas. But in many developing countries, a majority of people still live in remote rural environments. Zambia is a landlocked nation in southern Africa, and most of its 14 million people live great distances from the major cities and towns. Zambia is the home of Victoria Falls, Africa's top football team, and one of the world's fastest growing populations. It is also a country where 1 in 7 children die before their 5th birthday, from preventable causes like dehydration caused by diarrhea.
Diarrhea is still a leading killer disease in children under 5. This is really a huge problem.
For many mothers, taking a sick child to get help can mean walking all day. Rural health centers are understaffed and constantly face shortages of basic medicines like oral rehydration salts. ORS are essential in treating dehydration. The Ministry of Health struggles to meet demand. It regularly transports medicine to the major district towns, but getting that last mile into rural villages is a huge challenge. Bad roads and strained resources mean people must wait.
There are shortages. Like now, we only have 1 box of ORS. this is the ORS that we have, but we don't have zinc sulfate at the moment.
Since most cases are diarrhea cases, I think it will be finished by a week.
And then what happens?
We do give them health education by using sugar and salt to make homemade ORS.
Do most mothers have sugar and salt?
No, some of them can't afford to buy.
Next to these struggling health centres, rural shops are stocked with goods. One product in particular seems to be just about everywhere.
You will find Coca-Cola in any village at any time in the course of the year, but you will not find medicines. What's the difference? There is something there to learn from.
This is a story about thinking outside the box and inside the crate.
We are doing just about 1 million cases a month on average, which is about 75, 80,000 hectoliters. If you tell somebody here, buy a drink, you haven't mentioned what drink to buy, but the first thing that will come to their mind is a Coca-Cola. It's still the #1 seller, I think, all across the country.
I was travelling a lot in Chinzali district because we were involved in a development project, and it struck me how you could get a Coca-Cola. It seemed in most places, and yet there was this background of 1 in 5 children not reaching their 5th birthday.
And we had 3 children under 5 ourselves, so who got ill and so on and so forth. And so it was very clear to us that you needed to have access to simple medicines and know how to use them and so on.
Yeah. So the very initial thought was, if we can get Coca-Cola out to these places and get the bottles back and the crates back, and people know what to do with it, and all, why can't we do the same thing with a simple public health product?
20 years later, Simon decided to share his idea.
That was what got the BBC interested. Through the BBC, we got to Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola then could see that the support, the support was growing.
We started with this idea that Coca-Cola gets everywhere, medicines don't. Why don't we piggyback, quite literally, physically piggyback on the Coca-Cola system? And we came up with a pack which fits between the necks of the bottles in a Coca-Cola crate.
We're going to be ironing.
We're going to be ironing the samples.
The prototype's innovative design got a lot of attention in the public health community. The blatant reference to Coke, however, raised some eyebrows.
We're not promoting Coca-Cola, we are piggybacking on their successes and hopefully diverting some of that expertise into the public good.
They have achieved things and can do things that the public sector hasn't achieved.
What our government has done is to make clear that we accept the role of the private sector and the collaboration between public and private. There was a period of suspicion between the two, and any thought that these money-seeking characters could actually do good was not acceptable at that time. And as we have grown over the generations, we have begun to accept capitalism as having potential benign effects as well.
We wanted to put in what WHO/UNICEF recommend in a diarrhea treatment kit, which is zinc and ORS.
So there's a small bar of hand soap that fits right at the top.
Soap is going to actually avoid 40% of diarrhea cases.
It sits on a tray which can be removed. That tray also serves as a lid for the container.
What is key about Zambia and about these particular components is that it doesn't have to be a pharmacy or a drugstore that sells them. And for Zambia, that's absolutely vital because there are so few retail pharmacies in this country.
They call it Kit ya Moyo, which means kit of life. Through selling the kits instead of giving them away, Cola Life hopes to build a market for basic health products.
We're interested in the last mile. And the interesting thing about a Coca-Cola crate is that Coca-Cola crate goes the last mile in a rural area, on a bicycle, on an ox cart, on a donkey cart, on the back of a lorry, in a bus, or however it's transported, by a completely independent local entrepreneur who brings it there because he or she can make money from that particular commodity.
In the next couple of weeks, we are going to be running a test run of the whole system.
The test run is going to take place going from Kolomo to this little village here, Siachitema.
When you go to any community, when you want to introduce activities or programs or work in any community, in anywhere, you need first of all to get people involved. There are certain structures that you cannot overlook, that you cannot ignore if you want your programs to be supported and also you want them to be sustainable.
Oh, so mwanya mwa useninga musigaji ndinzo.
Amendo. Tizamuma twanya mwa 6 mama 9.
And then, would you have a doctor normally at a health centre like this?
No, not a doctor.
No.
I might have a clinic officer. Yeah, clinic officer.
Oh, okay. So that post remains vacant?
Yes.
I was interested on your end wall there, you have the Millennium Development Goals. And I think it's number 4, which is about reducing child mortality. We were sort of inspired by the Millennium Development Goals, but also quite shocked that so many children died of such a simple cause, which is dehydration. And also we noticed that in many places, in many medical institutions, either they're a long way away from where people live, or they don't necessarily have the stock of the medicine that people need. So what we were trying to do, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, is we're trying to get kits like this into shops. Okay. Not just the shops close to health centres, but shops further in, more remote shops, which may be a long way from here. So instead of someone having to walk a long way to a clinic, they can treat diarrhea in their home. They can buy this and treat it now. What do you think of that?
It's a very good idea. It's a good idea. And I think it's going to be very helpful to a lot of people that are very far away from clinics, from health centers.
Yeah.
In one part of the country, this international NGO went to this community, assessed the situation, and thought, oh, mothers here suffer, women here suffer, because they cover long distances to go to the river to get water. I said, how do we help these mothers? Let's sink a borehole 500 meters away from their village. They called the community and said, we've seen all your troubles. We've understood all the problems that you women have been going through. And to address those problems, we've constructed this water point and we're handing it over to you. Time passed. They came back to see whether the lives of the mothers had improved. And they were seeing mothers bypassing the water point, going back to the river. And so they were bothered. They called the mothers and said, we've observed with sadness that even after having done all these things, we seem not to have helped you people. Why are you still getting back to the old way of doing things? So they said, if you had consulted us mothers, we would have told you to sink this borehole near the river. So people were surprised, but why? The reason is very simple. This water point is near to our villages. So because it's near, we only walk shorter distances, and we cannot discuss our husbands, we cannot discuss things that are affecting our families. So we'd prefer go to the river because that will give us enough time to discuss our husbands, to discuss our families, to discuss different family issues. The problem is that you never consulted us.
We're doing a series of 6 focus groups in every district, and these are qualitative interviews, so they basically will just supplement the key quantitative surveys that we're doing.
After 5 minutes,
Be partnering with the shops, and then the shops will make them available to the community.
Kusigama 10 hours yamana kupanga kamwe.
Okay. Mubere sibwangu mbo ndi hotela pia.
Eno muri Jesu mwana ujeswa unganda.
Kwali.
Sumenda bo mai. Menda bo ORS. Ino ngamujana uri.
Which better legally, you know, happen to Samira shorter guy.
So this guy wants to buy this.
Yeah.
He's got 5,000 kwacha.
Yes.
His son has got diarrhea. So why aren't we giving it to him?
Baseline.
You're ruthless. You're ruthless.
No, I don't.
Rohit. I think we should sell it to him.
Claire, I've sold, huh? I have more money in my pocket.
Is that for dinner? Yeah. Is that for your dinner?
Yeah.
Enjoy. Bon appetit.
Even with the successful sale of the first kit, the difficulty of transportation sinks in.
I'm asking for the loose one. Oh, yeah.
This is the material that it will be, and it will be completely waterproof. And then these are going to be arriving in cartons to you, and in each carton there'll be 7 bags, and each bag will have 5 of these in.
So 35.
So 35 in a carton. This is, I mean, again, if we get to the stage where this rolls out, which we hope it will, this is the sort of poster you'd have
Like I always believe in, a lot of work is done in offices and people don't understand what's on the ground. So the success of this will be measured by what we do on the ground here. You can make the most powerful leaflet ever. You can make the most powerful poster ever. But if you don't know how to talk to the person on the receiving end, then maybe that poster, that leaflet might not work. So it's us guys on the ground who are having first-hand experience with the recipients, and what we do and what we say is what will matter.
We were trying to assess if at all would be interested to be selling the kit, and from our discussions, it looks like he's quite interested. From what he's telling us is that people are able to buy, and there's demand for such drugs.
Oh, zinc is for strength. Okay. Preventing infection using is affordable. I think women around this place, as they are interested in gardening, they will be able to be buying these kits for their children, for their babies.
I did some calculations the other day, and there has been progress since the Millennium Development Goals. The rate of improvement in child survival had increased at 2% per year. There's been some progress. That's great. There's a lot of people who work really hard to get that progress. However, at that rate, it will take 175 years for child mortality in developing countries to reach the levels that they already are in the US and Europe. Now, if you're happy to sit around for 175 years while the existing
incremental improvements
carries on, that's fine. What we want to do is try something out that potentially could
make a step change.
So not 2% per year, 10% per year.
We should make an effort since we have managed about this medicine, also malaria. Malaria, yes. And even, not only that, even other medicine. The advantage for us, instead of going to town, we should buy here.
Wakuta. Nona. So. Chata.
Beti ushakumana
ngati ulendo wapya tieni kundola vovala talonga tuchola taimya tayambapo ambuya tenze tonse munjila tenze tonse kunganda ambuya wenilanga njila za bwino lomba nazionela aye manawe kumbuka ulanda wanyoko chalo chino chilina meno ulesi ni musamilo obaba siku zuya lula wanzi wa muntu ni pachinso chalo ni maluba ambuya tenze tonse munjila tenze tonse kunganda ambuya za kwino